up, Matt?
When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na na na, darling, I need your love.
Actually,
Oh
just
na 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 na, oh na na na, darling, I need your love.
Alright, back out for me. Shawn, I need you to like help me out here. Your camera's about to
When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love.
John, you there? Alright, can you straighten out your cam or where you're gonna be? Alright, you're gonna have to get into the middle of your cam though, most likely. Because it's gonna crop the shit out of you. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Gonna. When he comes back in, it's gonna crop the shit out of you. Alright. You doing alright? Feel like you're stressed. Well, they were like, oh, we want these, we want the, whatchamacallit? Well, no, you're fine. What's up, Matt? How you doing, man? Where are you living nowadays? Okay, I didn't know where you were in Pottsville or what you were doing. It's gonna be tricky. Get Matt's face in the. No, they fucking sent me shit today and was like, we need these changes for today?" And I was like, "It's cool." Well, and like some of their shit is cool and some of their shit's dumb, so. And it just. Shawn, do you have Riverside open in multiple tabs? It's telling me that you do. Yeah, it does not like that. It was giving me an error earlier about that. Sure, why not? Well, there's just a lot of things that like they're not bad. It's just not exactly how we did things. We're trying to like
I was angry before,
the
but I
things they do. Like
circled the drain.
they're fine. Like honestly, it would just been easier if we just said fuck it and do exactly what they wanted. But like they would have been cool with like just us literally like filming like no like graphics, no nothing. Yeah, they wanted us to like film.
I let the sun go down.
All they care about is and so I like went through everything that we do, and it was like, like holy shit, like I didn't realize you did this much. We just lost Shawn again, so that's not cool.
I was angry before.
This is the first time we've used Riverside. Like we just usually use Skype, and they were like, "Oh, Skype is not as good as Riverside."
I can't find.
Yeah,
I let the sun go down.
yeah. Shawn, you all right? Is your
I let the sun go down.
what's going on with your camera today? Matt, can you switch to your left a little bit? You can't see, and I was open. I could actually admire like I guess everything I'm doing.
I let the
I
sun
have to
go
like figure it out. But right now, you won't see the video. You won't see the video, but I will be playing. Yeah, you'll be able to hear it, but even that kind of I'll have to actually. There's a lot. I mean, I gotta. Basically, when I play it here, I will have to. Yeah, it's gonna be a pain. So, do it this time, and I got a week to figure it out next moving forward because it's just like. Yeah, and I think it's again. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, like I mean, again, it'd been really good if it's just simple, right? But like things we're trying to do, like
Something's always up, miss can't put my finger on it, but it's there. Wait for it to subside, but my mind won't apply. Waiting for the clear. Is it bad sometimes? I like it when I lose control.
right. All right, y'all ready? Let me hit this record button. I didn't realize there's a countdown. That's good to know, I guess. All right. Mics are hot. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. A big time show today. Matty Fresh joining the podcast right here, right now. If you're watching live on YouTube, we have a lot of practice notes to go over, fan questions, of course. Oh, and by the way, a new partnership here with Hardcore PSUFB. So we'll get into all of that and more in this week's episode. Thanks for being here. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn Kane. And with him, the one and only, friend of the pod, mind you, Matty Fresh. How are you doing today, Matty?
What's up, fellas? Good to be back. Football is around the corner, and we got excited. I'm really excited for tonight because we got something exclusive for everybody. So,
yeah, can you just kind of fill us in here? What are we going to be showing tonight, Matty Fresh?
So this will be an extended snippet of my new song, Nittany Nation, which is the first Penn State anthem I'll put out since the Jahan song 2 years ago. I already got the little decor on the wall going up there over my shoulder, Nittany Nation. And it comes out Friday, and you guys will get an extended snippet of it. And I'm pumped for it because this is probably, at least like on a public platform, the most I've shared from it, and I'm excited for people to get to hear it before it comes out, like a little bit of it before it comes out.
Yeah, I will have to admit I've heard it. I've heard the snippet a couple times today, figuring out all of the production stuff for the show today. So I'm excited for everyone else to hear it. It's going to be solid. You'll be able to see it on YouTube as well if you're watching on YouTube. And then the entire thing comes out on Friday. Nittany Nation is the name of it. What was kind of the inspiration behind it? And last time we spoke, you said you were kind of waiting for something big or something, maybe a player or a large event to take place for you to write the next Penn State song. Then you said on Nittany Nation. What's that all about?
Yeah, so this idea was really born from kind of a new place where obviously the 3 songs I put out for Penn State prior to this were all player focused. And we were at the Rose Bowl, and we're celebrating in the team hotel afterwards with some of the players and families and some of the coaching staff. And it just like downtown LA, everybody's in a great mood. And I just remember thinking like, what a triumph. And like seeing Shawn come over, shake my hand, beat me up a little bit about, oh, never got my song. Like, some of the other guys who are coming back, wondering like, oh, who's it going to be, just all in good fun and playing around at the hotel. And I remember flying home and thinking, what a squad this is about to be, just like how high the morale was in that certain moment, getting to actually physically see it. It's something that it was special and inspired me. And I think that, the expectations are high. Obviously, everyone throwing around the idea that this is possibly the best team James Franklin's ever had. And we'll see when they get on the field, but I'll do anything I can to help them get there, and I'll gladly hop on that hype train. I'll miss Shawn. I know you guys will too. But kind of turning the corner and writing a new chapter. And I figured, it had been 2 years, and I think you guys would agree. There's not one guy on this team that I could single out. This is a team that is very deep and very versatile on both sides of the ball. And it just needed an anthem. So I go with Nittany Nation, and the pun in the title, the T's are capitalized. And I'll let you guys maybe take a guess as to why T would be such a special letter for this team this year. I think pretty easy.
Okay, Shawn, let's think about this for a second. There's what? Nittany Nation?
I think I have an idea.
Is that 3 T's?
3 T's, yeah.
3 T's.
The trot line formation.
T formation, yeah.
T formation, yeah. So
Yep.
I think that was a cool. And when you think about like brands within this program, right? Like they have the Lawn Boys. Now Lockdown U is starting to like become a little bit of a thing. Then you have the traditional ones, the Linebacker U, the Wild Dogs, things like that. And I know different coaching staffs bring different ones in, but yeah, I was just like, what a brand that could be, right? The T formation coming back and and I think the Jags used it in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, whoa, that's from Penn State. And it was cool to see like people thinking that were outside the fan base, like national media being like, nah, Mike Yurcich used this at Penn State, and Doug Peterson took a page out of his playbook. So I just love like promoting the brands within the brand. And I think that could be a really cool one to kind of push the T as a new thing.
Yeah, we love the T formation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We called it the Trotwine formation because
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want to take credit for this. Shawn, when we started calling it the Trotwine formation, that was really when the offensive line really turned things around. So I feel like it might be because of us.
I think so, Cory. It all goes back to hardcore Penn State football.
It usually does. All roads lead back to either Altoona or hardcore Penn State football. So you mentioned a little bit, Matt, about kind of the excitement around. I've moved back to State College now, and I can definitely kind of feel it in the air. The wind's already kind of picking up. The fall weather is coming soon. I mean, how do you just begin to describe what we're feeling right now? Because Penn State AP poll just came out. They're number 7 in the country. Even though they have to face a number 3, number 2 team on their schedule, there's a lot of excitement. And I mean, I don't know if I've ever felt anything like this. I mean, maybe 2017, but I mean, you can feel it in the air right now.
Yeah, and writing the song throughout the spring and the winter, and it was just a lot of fun. The process of making it, who was going to get in it, what fit, what kind of things should be featured in this, because it is a song for 2023's team. I was thinking about, do I take this in a direction where I just make it kind of a program song? And I'm like, no, this team has guys that will be leaving in this next draft class that are very important to highlight. And I want it to be this team's song. And as that went along, that was a lot of fun. And now as we're approaching the season and song has been done and ready to release, I just keep thinking every day, it's almost like a little like cautious optimism where it's like, you're almost afraid of how good this team could be, right? Because you don't want to get your hopes up, but you know in the back of your head, the more you see and the more you hear from this team, that this team has a very legitimate possibility of contending for a national championship. And it scares me, honestly, because I don't know, and I think you guys could agree, what I would do if it's the end of the season and Penn State's 12-0. Like, it would just be a totally new feeling.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
So, and you don't want to get your hopes up too high, but it's like, is this team capable? Absolutely. And you just get stuck in like, do you want that? Do you want the year where Penn State will be, number 7 in the AP poll, a lot of preseason magazines going top 5 with it? Do you want that, or do you want kind of like a 2016 where they're off the radar? I don't know. It's tough to decide, but as long as they shut that out, I guess it doesn't matter from the inside.
Yeah, I think the expectations, I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying about it makes you more nervous. But I think somebody made the point that going into the season, most of the time the national champion is one of the top 7 teams in the country in the preseason polls. So, I mean, if you're thinking about it from that way,
Right.
you might rather be up there. And, I remember we talked during the season, Matty, and we talked about Cliff, and you were kind of aligned with us on Sean Clifford. So knowing that, what are you expecting from Drew Aller this year?
Well, first off, it's completely wild that he becomes a Green Bay Packer and takes
say.
Aaron's locker.
I know, right?
Well, and you're a Packers fan, so before you answer Sean's
that-
question, how are you feeling about
Oh, I did not know that.
him
Wow.
being on your
Yeah.
squad?
The video, if you guys saw the video of him reacting to getting drafted, that's exactly how I felt. I was, and that was the one thing that kind of saved me from the depression of Aaron leaving. Like, because that's my guy. Like, I've watched Aaron since I was in elementary school. And it was like, it's sad. Like, you lose a piece of like your sports fandom. And I started to think like how Patriots fans might've felt or how Colts fans might've felt when Manning left. And I was just like, where do we go from here? Like, Sean Clifford gets drafted. I'm like, sure, he might not start this year, but how cool is that? Like, a little pick me up. And then Aaron sends him a message and says like, you got my locker and all that. But yeah, I mean, Drew, it just goes into that equation of the ceiling being so high. And I guess with him, I know he's got it physically. I just think about the mentally, and I'm like, he might be even better mentally than he is physically. Just from the interviews I've watched and just how he carries himself as such a pro already. And I'm thinking, yeah, this kid could have went to Ohio State. His girlfriend goes there. And why does he come to Penn State? Because he believes in what Penn State does, and he believes in the staff. He believes in the program and the culture. So I don't know. It's scary when you have a guy who has everything, and it's like, what is his weakness? I guess we'll find out, or hopefully we won't.
Yeah, because you have a 5-star quarterback, and we've had them before, and some have worked out, some haven't. But I think when you put him with the team that could be able to run the ball and he could be sort of a complement to our run game in a way instead of vice versa, and that kind of makes me excited. So, is there anything that makes you nervous about this team?
Yeah,
I know the expectations, but just the team in general.
The special teams. I remember seeing some really bad special teams. 2014 strikes me as a year where the whiteout game against Ohio State, like just the punting being awful. And I can't imagine it ever getting that bad. But yeah, I mean, Barney was a stud. And Jake had all that experience, and those are guys you won't have, and very unproven on special teams. And it's just such an important part of the game. And yeah, you hope Coach Collins can pull that together. And obviously I think the return game will be okay. They always seem to get, a sure-handed punt returner. Obviously Singleton on kickoffs is just like Barkley was. But yeah, the kicking game and I guess kick and punt coverage is something that's like, it's just that's the ways, when it comes down to like bounce of ball this year, which it will in these big games against Michigan and Ohio State, special teams is going to be so crucial. And it's like, are we confident if this does come down to a 50-yard field goal to win it in one of these games and decides the Big Ten East? I don't know if we can say that.
You coming up for any games this year?
Season tickets, baby. I'll be there.
Nice.
Yeah, proud season ticket holder since 2021. What a great year to have your first year of season tickets with a 9 overtime loss to Illinois. But yeah, turned the corner a little bit, saw some fun ones last year. And then going into this year, it's like everybody keeps talking about the month Penn State will virtually have off in between Iowa and Ohio State. And I look at that and I can't remember an advantageous spot in Penn State's schedule ever. No. Like that. Like it's just crazy how much time they'll have to fine tune for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, it almost feels like an SEC schedule, getting a weak opponent before one of their biggest matchups towards the end of the year. So yeah, that's big time for sure. We just got a couple more minutes left here. If you're comfortable and willing, do you have a prediction for the season? Do you know where you stand as far as where you think these Nittany Lions will end up?
Yeah, I'll say 11-1. I'll go with the majority of people, and I'm with the scenario that this could be like an 08 Big 12 South, where I know that's been tossed around, where A beats B, who beats C. I mean, I could totally see it. I think everybody who is a diehard college football fan is more than okay with, predicting that. I think it's probably what Vegas has in mind for what could happen. So. Yeah, I would say 11-1. I won't say which one will lose. So I don't know. I think that they will win one of those two games, and then I think cover in a lot of the other ones. I think this team will be really good against the spread again, like they were last year, and take care of like the at Maryland's and the Indiana and the Northwestern and games like that. I don't think will be competitive. Maybe West Virginia to start the year, you get a close game just because they're expected to blow out the Mountaineers, and like that could be a weird spot, with the new quarterback. But that could also turn into a blowout. So yeah, I'm pretty confident with saying 11-1, and that gets you in the playoff, no question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shawn, you ready to hear?
Has to, right? You hope so.
Well, if there's 3 of us, are they really going to put 3 Big Ten East teams in? These are the types of things I think of in the shower. I'm like,
I was
literally just thinking about it. I was like, yeah, what are they gonna do? Are they really gonna put all three of us in?
Well, hopefully we'll
Maybe.
replace that you thinking in the shower with maybe you singing my new song when it comes out.
Honestly,
That's
anything
gonna happen.
besides knowing
That's a
what Shawn's
great way to
singing.
set it up.
Not sure if this will be Penn State's anthem, but it'll be Shawn's shower anthem. That's
So for both.
all right. We're gonna share this. We're gonna listen to it 2 times through.
Ooh. All right.
Just give me a second here to figure this out. Huh. Okay.
Fast out the T form. That's a number 13 score. Ain't never seen a bliss like this. CJ23 boy. Now we up in Beaver Stadium, wildin'. 109K at a place get violent. Long boy chain in your face, that's diamond. This ain't no vacation, this is Kalen's Island. So fast out the T form. That's a number 13 score. Ain't never seen a bliss like this. CJ23 boy. Now we up in Beaver Stadium, wildin'. 109K at a place get violent. Long boy chain in your face, that's diamond. This ain't no vacation, this is Kalen's Island.
Just about, well, I'll be dropping at midnight Friday, so not too far away. And I'm just so excited to be able to potentially have a soundtrack for such a special year that we might look back on. And these are tough. Like, I always tell people the story about the Jahan Dotson song, where that one was ready to go in September of that season. And I was shooting myself in the foot by delaying it, but I was also struggling to find a time to put it out. Like, you can't put it out after Penn State loses in 9 overtimes. You can't put it out after they lose to Michigan. So, like, that Maryland game is what I needed, you know, that 262-yard game he had. And yeah, it came late in the season, and, you know, that was tough, but it's like, this year we're ready to go, like we were with Saquon, like we were with Trace, to put it out before the season, and that's where it belongs. And this is the best time of year. Like, I remember, I always look back in October. I don't know if you guys are the same. And I always think about, it's almost more like the lead up is usually almost more fun than like that little lull you get in October, especially for Penn State this year. Like, you can never replace that feeling of like just being excited for the season, because once it comes, it just goes so fast that you'll never get that back. So, like, I'm glad we have a number of things. You guys doing the pod, my song coming out, like, the content is just awesome. And I think the content is as good as it is because everybody's excited. Right.
It's a lot easier. It's
No
a lot
doubt, yeah.
easier to do it when you're excited, right? I mean,
Right.
I always laugh about certain Penn State fans will say that like beat writers like want Penn State to lose, and it's like, no, like viewership, readership, everything is up
Yeah.
when Penn State wins. Like it's just easier. So it's a lot easier to have these conversations. It's a lot more fun when you're winning. But for sure, like August 16th, like we're in like the height of optimism right now, right? Like
Yep.
everybody across the country thinks their team, could possibly go 12-0, and that's why I love college football, and that's why we love, your music. I mean, I'm gonna be listening to this song probably as loud as I can at like 6:30 in the morning whenever I wake up on game day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that's just the way to get it done, and
Oh.
and it's gonna be fun. I'm excited for it.
I'll probably wake up my
Yeah.
fiance with it.
In the shower.
In the shower.
No, but it's cool to have one. Like this is my first time doing one for the team. The only time I've really made a song about a team was like an old SoundCloud rap that I put up about when Harrisburg made the Little League World Series championship back in 2015. And that got like some local buzz. But yeah, these have always been like kind of individual player songs. And, they should have been like that. Those guys deserve that. But I just, everyone's like, make it about Drew, make it about Nick, make it about Abdul. And I'm just like, I couldn't land on, I just didn't sit right with that. And I was like, this T formation is going to be deadly. So let's start with that. Like I joke with some people, I'm like, I'm just going to write a whole album about this formation. And then I'm like, well, I got to incorporate it because I know it's like a new idea and it's not like the fan base is completely familiar with like the idea of it. Like they might have saw it, but I want to make it like a thing, right? Like I want to make it like the next big t-shirt. So yeah, I think it'd be cool to start with that. And obviously Nittany Nation is something that the players say, Coach Franklin will say, like it's such a rolls right off the tongue. So that was a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Shawn, any more final thoughts for Matty Fresh? Matty will probably get you back at some point during the season for to be a guest picker like you were last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I finished second, so I need some redemption for sure.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that we're probably going to be
Yeah.
having you back. And
Joseph
we have
Miller on
another
YouTube
great
wants to
song.
know if he can get all of the lyrics or you have to wait for the whole song. I'm going to say you probably have to wait for the whole song.
Oh yeah. When it drops, we'll have the lyric video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of upgraded that because I know a lot of you guys want to hear the lyrics, and I've been kind of like in my other songs, I kind of left it up to the fans to interpret like how they felt about some of the lyrics. This time I'm just going to be like, all right, you guys here, this is what they are. Like, I know that, I would think that with TikTok and everything, lyricism and all that is dying, but it's not. Like, people still want to know exactly what you're saying. And yeah, not yet, but I don't know if it showed on the video, but it maybe showed some of the lyrics.
No, yeah, it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was unable to show you guys the video, but it's like karaoke kind of. It's a little karaoke thing.
Yeah.
Be
You got like
easier
3 or 4 players mentioned in that little snippet, I think. So we got almost a dozen players, I think, in this song. And I've been doing a thing the last couple of days where I've been trying to get people to guess everything. And I said I would put the song out early. And I think like combined Twitter and Instagram, I think there's like 1 or 2 guys still missing. So if you guys want to contribute to that and you think you can guess all, I think there's 12 or 13, take a stab at it.
Yeah, man. Well, where can people find you? And obviously, you plan on doing some XFL coverage too, I assume next year. But where can people find you? And obviously, listen to all your music.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you get your tunes. Matty Fresh on there. Matty Fresh TV on X. And then I got Instagram, TikTok, Matty Fresh Tunes. But yeah, the song will be out everywhere. I think I'm going to do an Instagram Live at some point tomorrow night as well. I'll post about that and I'll interact with people and try to get people to get hyped for the song. But yeah, the XFL show going well, Spring Ball Boulevard on the Believe Network. Trying to push that and some really cool things coming out of that as well. Got the chance to interview The Rock last year. We're, having conversations with AJ McCarron, some of the stars of the league. So that'll start up probably back around January, February. But for now, it's Penn State football season, boys. And it's hard not to have a one-track mind at this kind of year.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we're here, right? That's why we're here. Well, Matty
Right.
Fresh, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, man. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Matty.
I'll see you.
Yep. All right. We're going to play this one more time. And and we'll go from there. So let's listen in one more time.
So fast out the T form. That's a number 13 score. They ain't never seen a bliss like this. CJ23 boy. Now we up in Beaver Stadium, wildin'. 109K at a place get violent. Long boy chain in your face, that's diamond. This ain't no vacation, this is Kalen's Island. So fast out the T form.
Alrighty. Shawn, what do you think of the song?
Very good. I didn't hear it. Did you play it again?
Oh, I did play it again, but you wouldn't have been able to hear it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, all of his stuff is really, really good. If you haven't heard Matty's work before, go look him up. I mean, it's tremendous, going back to when Saquon was here. Cory, can you stop recording for just a minute? I just got to fix something.
Hold on a second.
All right. If you can't, it's not that big a deal.
What you gotta do?
I got to fix my microphone.
Oh, I see. Should be able to mess with it now.
Yeah, let's see here.
This would be a good way to segue into why everything's different.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what happened.
You good? Let us know on YouTube what you guys think of that. Matty Fresh's new
Alrighty.
song.
Good.
Alrighty, we are back.
Perfect.
Sorry about that, everybody. So I guess, I mean, if you have any other final thoughts on Matty Fresh, we can talk about that, or we can just go right into kind of what we buried the lead in.
Yeah, I think we have some stuff to talk about. Stuff we were teasing for a few weeks, right? And Cory, you do the honors.
Yeah, let me So, as of, I guess, what, last week now, huh? It's been about a week?
Yeah.
Officially? It was last Thursday, wasn't it?
Last Thursday, so 6 days.
Yeah, so as of a week ago, Hardcore Penn State Football has sponsored or partnered with Mercury, which is a media company co-founded by Adam Brenneman. And they reached out to us. I think I saw the first reach out, I think was back in June, June 25th or something like that.
Yeah, late June.
And so we've been working with them, trying to figure out exactly how this partnership would work. And here we are. So obviously some changes to the cosmetic things on the actual podcast on YouTube. And so you've seen those things. There's been some awkward pauses probably in the audio. I'll probably edit some of those out for the podcast, people that are just listening on a podcast. But some changes have occurred and are happening. Good changes, though. Fantastic changes. That being said, people are a little confused by what the state media is and how that works with us. So, Hardcore PSUFB on all social media platforms is the same. Find us on Twitter, whatever, Instagram, all that stuff's the same. The only thing we're really sharing with them is state media, which is on YouTube. Now, the reason for that is state media is not just our show. There's going to be likely 2 other shows. I don't know if they've officially announced who there's going to be on there, but there's going to be a former Penn State player show. I know Christian Hackenberg is signed, and he's already kind of spoken about that. And I believe Brandon Bell has already said that he's involved too. So those 2 at least will be on the post-player show. And then there is going to be a show with current Penn State football players. And the reason for that is Mercury signed an NIL deal with Penn State. So that is the reason for why we will likely be able to, have additional coverage and potentially more interviews. So we'll be working with Mercury, with Adam Brenneman, with others, Christian Hackenberg, Brandon Bell, etc. And because of that, we'll have a lot more opportunities to interview people, whether that's former Penn State players, whether that's current Penn State players, etc. We'll get some of that pie, so which is pretty awesome. And we'll get a lot of just a lot of help in the world of editing and marketing, etc. So we're really excited about that as well.
Yeah, we're thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. So the show is going to be the same. I know we got some questions of how's it going to be? How's it going to be? Are there going to be differences? And kind of like what Cory said, we're going to get help with editing. Videos are going to look better. We're going to be getting really interesting and really good interviews. And yeah, it's everything we've been doing, except it's going to be better. So that's the good news for you. And yeah, we're so excited by this opportunity. We're thankful for Mercury for reaching out to us and thinking of us and trusting us. And we can't wait to we've already started, but we can't wait to get into the football season with this. And yeah, ceiling is the roof.
Yeah. It's I'm excited, don't get me wrong. It's just there's been a lot of stuff behind the scenes today, especially today, to get it all taken care of, and so it's been an exciting day, but it's been like a kind of a stressful day at the same time. So just because I maybe don't sound very excited, I very much indeed am very excited. It's just been a lot of work today to kind of get everything over, but really we appreciate everyone that's been listening here on YouTube, but also on the podcast as well, because just so that you guys know, our numbers have been fantastic leading up to this partnership, really fantastic. We've been moving in the right direction for the last month now, awesomely on our own, and so we're just excited for what could potentially come from here. So yeah. Shawn, any other final thoughts on that? I'm sure I missed things in regards to what exactly, but I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, and a little bit about Mercury, they're partnering too with Lion Legacy Club, so they're going to be involved in the NIL space. This Friday, Christian Hackenberg, Adam Brenneman, they're having an event down at the Beeve. I think it starts at 10. Double check me on that. And you could get a chance to catch a pass from Christian Hackenberg. You could run out of the tunnel. They're going to show you all around Beaver Stadium, and looks like it's going to be really dope. So I know they only got a few spots left, but if that's something you're interested in, definitely go check it out. It's all over our Twitter page. It's all over Mercury's. Hack actually just talked about it too on his own Twitter feed. So if that's something you're interested in, go check it out.
Yeah, Shawn, why don't you just keep talking about it, because I did pull the graphic.
Yeah. So, like I said,
there we go.
I think you're going to be able to get your name up on the big board. So
yeah, well, actually, I'll just say this.
It's way.
I was just going to say the most important thing in my mind about this that I feel like maybe wasn't covered enough was the fact that it's $300. but that includes 2 people. I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, $300 for one person, that's insane. It's $300 for you and one person, and to do all the things Shawn just mentioned, let alone catching pass from Hackenberg and run routes with Adam Brenneman and the tour. Like I did a Penn State locker room tour like when I was a little kid. I don't remember how much it was, but I'm just assuming like a tour of Beaver Stadium, tour of the locker room, tour of the suites and the press box, as well as running onto the field. They don't even ever let you on the field on the grass ever anyway, especially this close to the season. So just to do that alone, I'm sure it was more than $150. So it's a pretty solid deal.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Like Cory said, it's actually, pretty decent bang for your buck, and it benefits the NIL fund. So you'll be helping out the program and enjoying your day with a friend, with spouse, your child. If you don't have any of those, you could go find a friend.
Easy
it's
enough.
a good first date opportunity too.
We're matchmaking here again.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on Bumble and if they hit you up, just go, hey, want to go to Beaver Stadium with me on Friday? Maybe don't lead with that, but if the conversation's going well, you could put that in there.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily lead with that either, but
yeah, it sounds a little weird if you lead with it, but yeah.
Alrighty. We kind of jumped ahead a little bit there. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Penn State players in the preseason, Shawn. We talked pretty extensively about Shawn Clifford already with the Packers. The most Shawn Clifford game ever, right? I mean,
I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
Like Shawn Clifford, in that first half alone, had 2 interceptions. I will argue the one interception, the receiver didn't come back for the ball whatsoever. But led the Packers on multiple scoring drives and did some really good things. And had some really Shawn Clifford-esque plays, like move out in the pocket and throw a dart on the run. He did some really solid things that I was pretty impressed with. So I don't think he hurt himself at all. And he can just have one game where he kind of just takes care of the football. I think he's well on his way.
To unseating Jordan Love?
I don't know about unseating. I think you got to get into the season, right? Like,
yeah.
But these reps are crucial for him, and I don't want to say you could see a mid-season switch, but I don't think Jordan Love is just going to get the full season no matter what. So we'll see.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, he like Cory put it perfectly, and I was going to say pretty much the same exact thing. It was the most Shawn Clifford game. Couple interceptions, but then scoring drives. He has the ability to make the wow throws that I really don't think he got enough credit for when he was here. He always had that in his arsenal. And he'll drive you nuts sometimes, but there's sometimes you're just like, okay, so this guy's definitely like a top 3 quarterback in college football, right? he does things like that, and that's who he is. And a guy like that could stick around in the NFL because he has it up here, and teams will keep him as a backup because they're like, all right, if our starter goes down, Shawn could go win us a game. He could lose us a game too, but he gives us a chance. There's so many backup quarterbacks that just give you no juice at all. And you just know you're getting nothing from him. Where I don't think Shawn's ever going to be that quarterback. Shawn's always going to give you a shot. And that's what you want in a backup quarterback.
Right. And I think to a certain degree, like you get some sort of level of momentum if he comes in the game, right? Like he's going to provide some sort of oomph. And to have that in a backup quarterback could really well like turn the whole game around if you need him to. So
sure.
I do.
In 2010.
You know, he came in for the Cowboys a couple of times, and I feel like he didn't have that same oomph that you were hoping he would have.
Raiders, right?
Well, he was with. Oh yeah, I think he played the Cowboys. Yeah, I think it was Raiders.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he didn't. But Cliff has more arm talent than Matty did.
That's true. That's true. I want to get to Jahan Dotson catching a touchdown pass because it was a heck of a catch, heck of a grab. I saw there was a bet out there. I don't know what sports book it was on. Over under 6.5 touchdowns for Jahan Dotson, and I would probably bet my life savings that he finds a way to have 7 touchdowns this year. Like that, I think he got 8 last year and he got hurt. So
if that's his over/under, hammer the over.
Right. I mean, that should be easy.
Yeah. Provided he stays healthy, of course.
Right. Juice Scruggs, center for the Texans, rookie. There was unfortunately injury to the starting center for the Texans, so now he's running with the ones. So he's got former Ohio State quarterback from last year, C.J. Stroud. He's got those hands right under his bum. So
yeah, I think Laramie Tunsil referred to him as a dog, and if you're referring to a rookie as a dog, I mean, that's high praise, especially from Laramie Tunsil, who I think is the highest paid left tackle in football.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And we mentioned Juice Scruggs and how important he was on the team last year, so very excited to see what he can do with this opportunity. Tig Brown played on Sunday. I didn't really watch the game, but he racked up a bunch of tackles, had a couple really impressive tackles in open field, so that was good to see. Shawn, did you see the Arnold Ebiketie sack on your beloved Dolphins?
I did, yeah. He took the ball right from Skylar Thompson. So it was classic AK too, just around the corner. Tackle had no chance because he's a Dolphin, and he was just like, "I'll take you down and take the ball, thank you."
He got up all nonchalantly that he had the football.
I know.
Just like, oh yeah, that was a fumble, and nobody seemed to care whatsoever that he had it. Like referee threw the little flag out there, as him, signaling a fumble, and he just gets up with the ball like, "Thanks." And that was funny. That spin move was just filthy.
Yeah, I mean that guy he's gonna have a home in the NFL for a long time. Just as a pure pass rusher, he's gonna be a guy that probably makes a lot of money too.
Yeah, I mean if you can get to double digits, he hasn't had that many sacks in his career yet. But
yeah, he had to get a little bigger, but I think he has.
If he can get double digit sacks, I mean, watch out. Parker Washington, Brenton Strange played for the Jaguars. I think Washington only had 1 catch, but he also returned some kicks. So if he can show his versatility there, he should be looking good to make the roster if he continues to do that. So I think he had like 44 yards in return yards for all the punts, and I don't know if he did kicks too.
Yep.
But so that was some good stuff there. Is there anyone else you really wanted to mention, Shawn?
Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. Was out. He's supposedly okay, though. They think he might play in the next preseason game, and I hope he does, just because he's a rookie, and rookies need the reps. So I was actually excited to watch the Steelers. They were my local game, and as I turned the TV on, I just saw Joey Porter Jr. is not playing, and I just felt so defeated. But yeah, I think he touched on everybody else that I wanted to talk about. So
yeah, there's a lot of Penn State
how
starters.
How did Will Levis play? Do you know?
I do not know. I didn't even look that up.
I don't know either.
Maybe somebody on YouTube can tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to move on. There's a couple random notes here that I wanted to mention. Maybe I'll steal the screen away for a second. This one? Oops. How about that one? Yeah. Freak list, Shawn. Bruce Feldman's freak list comes out every year, usually 100, 101 players. It's a huge honor to be on there. Penn State had the most players I think I've ever seen. They might have had the most players of any team because they had a bunch. Chop Robinson, Jordan Vandenberg, Olu Fashanu, Nick Singleton, Zane Durant, and Abdul Carter all made the freaks list, which If you read The Athletic, which I would recommend, there's some stuff that they do is just crazy. My biggest thing though, Jordan Vandenberg. I mean, we're gonna talk about him a lot this preseason, but Jordan Vandenberg just, he's strong. He's a large man, but he can actually still move pretty well too. So, Jordan Vandenberg to me is a guy that people really need to pay attention to, Shawn.
Yeah. I think he kind of gets lost in the shuffle sometimes. Same thing with Zane Durant. I think there's so much star power in that front seven and at the defensive end positions that the defensive tackles oftentimes get a little lost. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The closer we get to the season, maybe it's the preseason excitement, admittedly, the more I'm optimistic about these defensive tackles, and the more I think, okay, PJ's gone, but I think in the aggregate we're gonna be just fine there. I really do. I wanted to see them get bigger in the offseason. They did, and I think they got a solid 5 or 6 guys that they feel that they're gonna feel comfortable with, and that's really what you need at the defensive tackle spot. You need 5 or 6. So Davon Townley too. He's a name that you keep hearing come up, so look out for him.
Okay, well, I want to scoot on over to AP poll real quick and just mention that Penn State came in at number 7. We don't really care about the preseason AP poll. We don't really care about the AP poll very much at all. Michigan 2, Ohio State 3. I think Wisconsin was in there, but as far as teams that Penn State plays, Iowa comes in at 25th. And that's about it. We actually have a fan question a little bit later in the show about one of those teams. So,
yeah, I'm cool
not.
with it.
I guess Iowa at 25 is fine. I wouldn't have them any higher, so whatever.
Yeah, I would like them to be ranked coming in, but I don't know if they'll get by the Cyclones. Cyclones are a weird team, though. You never really know what you're getting with them.
Right, yeah. Ball State added to the 2028 schedule. Penn State played them one time, and I was back in 2021.
21. First game post-COVID.
That's right. Won like 41-13.
Yeah, first home game post-COVID. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was in attendance. It was a beautiful day.
Was it actually 41-13?
So it was something. It might have been 44-13. I think we had a weird number.
Yeah, I know we did have a weird number. Ball State has not really done well since then, so we'll see if they were coming out of that year. They were actually the MAC champion. So
yeah, there were a lot of nerves for that one, and I actually walked out of there feeling pretty confident about the team. And then we beat Auburn, and I felt really confident. And then the Villanova game happened, and I stopped feeling confident.
How about Drew Aller signing a Bose deal with headphones and providing all the offensive linemen with headphones? Just cuz. That was pretty cool to see. Also,
Yeah.
if you're a quarterback, a smart move because they're the ones that are protecting you.
Damn right. This is a move that you see a lot at the NFL. Like the quarterback will take their offensive lineman to a fancy restaurant or something like this, or he'll buy them all Rolexes. So, yeah, you want to keep them happy. Also, I don't know if you saw this or not. It just came over Twitter right when I sat down. Nick Singleton just signed a multi-year NIL deal with Roback.
The shirt company?
I believe so.
They're actually really nice shirts. We should try to get a deal with them.
Yeah, activewear brand. Kate Klubnik is also signed by them. So
Very nice. That was some breaking news.
Congratulations, Nick Singleton.
Yeah, I was going to plug that Mercury experience, but we already kind of did that, so we're good there. We can get into the practice notes, I guess, if you're ready to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. Got a lot to say.
Yeah. First of all, I was not at the practice. It was actually like a tornado watch that day, but I had some other things going on as well. Not a nice day. Not a nice day at all. I was kind of like, Thought they were gonna do it at Beaver Stadium, and that obviously changed, which I guess was a good thing because the weather was bad. But I know James Franklin kind of wanted them to do it in Beaver Stadium originally. That I want to mention two things. Obviously, it was wet for some of that practice, so the things you hear coming out of that practice, just keep in mind it was wet. The second thing I think is almost more important was Penn State's offense was practicing being backed up in their own red zone. And so they weren't really, they moved the ball back a couple times once the offense had kind of got out of there. And so just because there wasn't a bunch of scoring, it wasn't a scrimmage, it was a practice for situations. So that wasn't, there's a little bit to play with that as well. Just one before we get started on all these notes. Shawn, you want to start offense or defense? Or special teams, for that matter?
Let's go offense.
Okay. Let's go offensive line.
Let's.
Oluf Ashanu kind of on a pitch count from what it sounded like. As far as not needing a bunch of reps, they already know who he is. And wasn't out there for the practice. You had Drew Shelton at left tackle. Kind of an interesting thought. I get it. Curious if that plays into the season. Like, do you play him for all of the UMass game? Do you play him for all of the Delaware? I mean, obviously, if you're blowing him out, you probably won't play a lot of people. But does that kind of light reps translate to the game, or is that just for practice? I think it's just for practice, but it's something to at least pay attention to. And is that all of a sudden, or is that because maybe he's not 100% yet? Will that eventually go away? I don't know, but that's the first time we'd really heard about it.
Yeah, I think they're taking things easy with Olu. The weird thing about him, and I'm not saying I disagree with it because he's a smart kid. We all know he's really good. He's only played in 9 games, 9 or 10 games since he's been here. So in a way, I kind of think maybe it's a good idea to give him more reps, but they know way more about his availability and we do. So I'm not gonna question that too much, but I would like, I think that's just gonna be what it is. Also to note, Landon Tangwall was not practicing.
Yeah.
And little concerned about that. Franklin said that on Monday that dealing with some bumps and bruises, so he doesn't. It doesn't seem like it's going to be something long term, because even though Franklin doesn't talk about injuries, he will give you like, if you ask him, he will tell. He'll again, if you read between the lines with him, he'll let you know if it's something serious or not. I also want to note Drew Shelton was playing both left and the right side, and JB Nelson was the one filling in for Tangwall. So he seems to be, the backup guard right now over Big Ione. And from everything that I've heard, like the 247 podcast was saying, they think JB Nelson has NFL potential. Like, he's not just, some backup guy, kind of like a spare tire. Like, they think that guy could seriously play. And it kind of goes to show you just how far we've come, because we've had guys on the offensive line start who were borderline Big Ten players. And if you want to do the kinds of things we want to do, like compete for a national championship, you can't have just borderline starting offensive linemen on your team.
Right.
You just can't. You can barely afford to have them in the 2 deep. So I think that just shows you how healthy our depth is at the offensive line position. And that's a story pretty much all over the team.
Yeah, I would say, it'd be nice to know who that fourth left tackle is, or fourth offensive tackle in general is. You have Caden Wallace, you have Oluf Ashanu, and you have Drew Shelton. Who's that fourth guy? Tangwall can bump out. JB Nelson can even bump out. who is that person and who will step up in that role if that has to happen. So I know that was something even in the spring James Franklin was kind of curious in. So yeah, just that's one thing. I'm glad you brought up JB Nelson because that was someone that was brought up quite a bit. I wanted to mention Hunter Norzad too because that has not really been a question mark at all, or really even brought up as a question mark, which I think is a good thing. You mentioned what to get out of press conferences. Well, it's also the things that weren't said, right? And center has not really been brought up at all. So I think he's instilled some confidence with the staff there. We think Dawkins is finally healthy behind him, so you actually might feel pretty good about the center position right now. As well as you can. So, and to that point too, Shawn, we haven't heard very much about Sal Wormley this offseason. I feel like he's just been plugging away. He's got a little bit bigger from when we went over the weight, but he seems to be doing pretty solid in his own right. So I think you got to feel pretty good about where the offensive line is. And I just want to wrap it up since we're being so positive. Caden Wallace is doing a fantastic job. I mean, we saw some reps during the Big Ten film that they showed, and he was holding his own against Abdul Carter, etc. And he had some really good reps against Denai Dennis Sutton. I mean, I think Caden Wallace, and this might be the year Caden Wallace figures it all out, and then that just takes this whole. We said a couple of weeks ago, Caden Wallace is not going to lose the right tackle job. So what you need to be doing is to be rooting for Caden Wallace to get better, not for Drew Shelton to take his spot. And I think, as far as we know, that's happened.
Seems to be, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Like, you want your older guys to be starting over the younger guys, ideally. I mean, sometimes the younger guy is so good that you can't keep him off the field, but ideally you'd want the experience combined with being your best player at that spot, and that's what Caden Wallace has. And I know Frank that he's one of the he's part of the foundation of that offensive line. That's a word Franklin used. So I think they seem very happy with Caden Wallace. And overall, I thought he had a good year last year. And those who listen to the show going into 2022 season know I was pretty nervous about Caden Wallace and Bryce after that rotation, but it ended up working out fine when Caden was in the lineup. Yeah. No, for sure. Any other offensive line comments before we move on? No, I had something about Dawkins too, but you covered him pretty well. So yeah.
Wait.
Good line. I'm feeling good about it.
I'm feeling very good about it, to be honest with you. I'm feeling better than I probably should, but feeling really good. Let's go to tight end. I don't have that much. Joey Schlafer had a touchdown catch from Jackson Smolik during the practice. And I just wanted to reiterate what we've been saying about Khalil Dinkins this whole time. He's probably the number 3 tight end on the roster, which you think, number 3, that's not great. But Theo Johnson and Ty Warren are going to be gone next year. So, he very well could be the number 1 guy come this time next year. And so, someone you should definitely be paying attention to, Khalil Dinkins making some money moves.
Yeah. Franklin mentioned Dinkins quite a bit in his post-practice comments. And I think Theo Johnson has also been highlighted as being a strong leader in that role. So I know there were some questions about, could he potentially be suspended to start the season, due to the off-season incident that he had. Reading between the lines, I don't think that's going to happen. And it's really been nothing but positive about his leadership ability. So, yeah. And Andrew Rapplier is there. And, we've heard some pretty good things about him. And then Joey Schlafer, only touchdown on Saturday. So shout out to him making making a little bit of noise during the open practice.
You ready to talk wide receiver?
I feel like we never talk about wide receiver.
No, never. Never, ever. I want to clarify maybe some comments I made last week. I do think your number one wide receiver and then your next best wide receiver right now is Harrison Wallace, being Keandre Lambert-Smith, then Harrison Wallace, Trey Wallace. But I don't think there's a large gap between Harrison Wallace and Omari Evans, Dante Cephas, Liam Clifford. And Franklin made the comment the other day about there hasn't really been enough separation or any separation between some of those guys. You can take that two ways, right? You can take that as nobody's stepping up, or you can take it as everyone's stepping up and it's making their decision really hard. I feel pretty good about the wide receivers for where we're at right now. The good news is that they're going to continue to get better against this defense. It sounded like, based off of the practice, again, wet balls, there was a couple drops, but they were taking deep shots. Like, I think Drew Aller maybe threw it 10, 11 times, 12 times during practice that they saw, and he was throwing deep maybe 50% of the time. So take that for what you will. Don't know how much of the offense you're actually showing, but they're also not going to reinvent the wheel out there either. So I still really like Omari Evans. I think maybe Trey Wallace needs to be discussed a little bit. I know PSU Dylan, friend of the pod, brought up Harrison Wallace the other day on Twitter. Liam Clifford is still a technician. I still like Omari Evans, though, Shawn.
What about Mr. Cephas?
I don't know. You know, I think I'll feel better about Dante Cephas come week 5, right? Like, let me get into October before I label what I think of Cephas, because I just don't know.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense because he's adjusting to, number one, a whole new conference and a whole new level of competition. And he's adjusting to a new offense. And this receiver room, I mean, there are no true freshmen really competing for playing time right now. I think Carmelo Taylor's going to be redshirted. And yeah, everybody else has already at least a year in the system. So he's going to be a little behind in that way. I know people have said that Cephas's hands really are impressive. I mean, it actually sounds a lot like how we heard about Mitchell Tinsley going into last season. Possession guy, can move the chains, and yeah. And Franklin also said that nobody really, and he didn't like say besides Keandre Lambert-Smith and besides Harrison Wallace. He said nobody's really separating from the packet receiver right now. And there's kind of a new guy all the time. And, that could be interpreted in a couple of different directions. It could be interpreted as we don't have a true number one receiver, which I would argue it ain't last year either. Or it could be interpreted as it could be interpreted kind of in a positive light, in that they're all good to really good and depth, and there are a lot of guys we could trust. So take it for what you will, but I think Franklin still wants to see more, especially from those top two guys.
Yeah. No, I get that. And the good news is we'll learn more about it. And I'm sure we'll talk about it quite a bit on next week's show, the preview show. Quarterbacks, I kind of mentioned it already a little bit. Drew Aller probably wasn't his best practice on Saturday. Again, it was pretty wet out. They didn't obviously just let him do his own thing. But we have heard, though, from unnamed sources, that Drew Aller is very good at football, which probably doesn't need very much convincing. But hearing from somebody that's been around the program quite a bit, for somebody to say the words ELITE to us was kind of a big deal. And so Shawn, when we heard that, I took that to mean something, right? It wasn't like somebody off the street told me that Drew Aller is elite. Somebody I think we feel is pretty credible, and it got me pretty excited, right? If Drew Aller really does play to the level that maybe he could play to, or fans are expecting him to play to, I mean, you look at games like Illinois versus Iowa, even the Ohio State and Michigan games; those get a lot easier. Things become a little bit more clear, Shawn.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, first off, yeah, we have unnamed sources now. Secondly, I wish the day was nicer because, I mean, number one, just for the fans and everything and people who travel to go there, I would have traveled to go there, but I was in the Big Apple, and the other reason I wish it was nice was you could get a real feel for the team then. Because when you're going up against a defense who I think is going to be the best defense in the Big Ten, pretty much any offense in the country is going to struggle. And that's what we saw on Saturday. That's what they saw on Saturday. I mean, Aller didn't look his best, and they didn't really have him even throw that much. I think he only threw like 14 or 15 passes the whole day. And like Cory said, half of them were deep balls. And those are already low percentage throws. And then you factor in the rain, you factor in he's throwing against guys like Kane. So I don't think you got a really good look at the offense on Saturday. And combine that with Olu Fashanu, didn't participate in much of the 11-on-11 stuff. So I think it's hard to get a lot out of it from the quarterback position specifically. It's cool. It is cool to note that Jackson Smolik had the only touchdown pass, though. So, I mean, you continue just hearing good things. You continue to hear good things about that kid and the improvements he's made since the spring.
Yeah. I was just gonna mention. I don't know if we saw the best from Bo Prabila that day either. I think he was a little bit eager to take off and run. Take that for what you will. Also, you don't know how well somebody can scramble in practice, because if somebody gets it anywhere close to them, they call him down. He might not actually be down. That 8-yard run actually might have gone for 17. I mean, how many times you see, Trace McSorley, Sean Clifford think he's going to go down and he breaks a large run. I mean, tackling a quarterback in space isn't the easiest thing in the world. So that just unfortunately doesn't play to his benefit. That being said, you still would like him to be a good thrower, especially in a Mike Yurcich system versus maybe a Joe Moorhead, John Donovan system. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. But it'll be very interesting post Aller to see where things end up, right? Which I know is very far away. We still have 2 years. But where do things go from there? Because Drew Aller, his arm strength alone is probably going to be enough, and he might have just enough wiggle. But after that, if you don't have a surefire 5-star right there, do you lean more towards a guy who has a little bit of ability to run? Or do you kind of trust maybe a Jackson Smolik who can run, but maybe is just a more accurate passer? So just something to keep in mind way deep down the road there. I want to finish with running backs, Shawn. We mentioned him last week, I think, and then sure enough, he played a bunch in the practice, and that's Trey Potts. Don't sleep on Trey Potts. He's going to see a lot of reps. I think he caught a couple balls out of the backfield as well. He came back knowing where Katron Allen and Nick Singleton were at, and I don't think he's very scared at all to fight for reps against these two guys. So I'm a big Trey Potts fan. And I think you'll see him a lot this fall, especially against maybe some of the lesser teams that Penn State faces. I do think Penn State fans need to pay attention to the fumbling, because they did have some fumble issues as a unit on Saturday. and obviously go back to that Northwestern game and how many fumbles during that game. I'm not saying I'm worried about it, Shawn, but I'm a little skeptical. I'm going to be paying attention closely to that moving forward. And if there is a wet game early and we see some fumbles, I might upgrade myself to concerned.
Yeah. I mean, we play in Big Ten country, and in Big Ten country, you could get weather from pushing 90 to 20. It could be really rainy. It could be beautiful. It could be snowy. And sometimes it's week to week, and that's just the reality of playing here. We're not playing in Southern California, and it is what it is. And you got to be able to hang on to the ball in tough conditions, because if we're playing in Ohio State or Michigan, or even a team like Iowa or Illinois who could beat us if we play bad, they're not the committee isn't just going to say, oh, well, when they played Illinois, it rained out. That's not the way it works. You have to be able to overcome bad weather. So tad concerned, but I would also say a fumble here and there in the rain, it could happen to the best of us, but it can't happen like we did last year in the Northwestern game. That can't happen.
Right.
Yeah, I share what you're saying about Trey Potts. The guy's a proven commodity. He's played a lot of football. He played the entire 2020 after Mo Ibrahim got hurt. So he knows how to be a starting back in this conference. And he's going to be our third guy. And he could play a small but key role in this offense. Like if we need third and a yard, there's a decent chance he could get the ball, especially if Katron might need a blow or something. Like to get that 1 yard, maybe it's a little hot take. I might take Trey Potts over Nick Singleton, and that's nothing against Nick. I mean, I might rather him. I mean, I remember Andre Robinson when Saquon was here. He had some key first down, move the chain runs. And he obviously wasn't Saquon, but he was able to go and get 2 or 3 yards here and there. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to get with Trey Potts. I also want to note that London Montgomery impressed a little bit. He's coming off an ACL tear. He didn't play his senior year of high school at Scranton Prep. But he's doing some good things. I didn't hear a lot about Cam Wallace in this practice, but we have heard in the past about him.
Yeah. I'm still high on Cam Wallace.
Running backs are good, man. I think this is a special group. I really do.
It was nice to hear positive news about Montgomery, right? Coming off of the injury, didn't really know what to expect, so that made me feel good. Let's go special teams, because we talked about them quite a lot.
Rainbows and butterflies there.
Yeah, well, and we have a question later on in the show, so I don't think we have to go too deep right this second on it, because somebody, I don't know who it was, had a fan question on it. But just briefly, they made some solid kicks. Sander Sahadak and Alex Felkins from pretty far out. I think Sahadak did make a 50-something yarder. As Higgins on YouTube says, Tank Smith, the GOAT. So that was good to see. But they also missed a couple, and there were some consistency questions there. And the same thing we've said about punter as well. So I don't know if it's anything new from last week, because I feel like we talked about it quite a bit last week, Shawn. But we'll get to the fan question in a little bit. But still not exactly resolved there at special teams.
No, it's a fluid situation especially at place kicker and punter. The 24/7 pod mentioned a name that I remember hearing in passing, but they mentioned Ryan Barker. Tyler Donahue said he was the most accurate in Saturday's practice. So maybe Ryan Barker makes a bit of a move here.
I don't know.
I think it's wide open. And it would maybe the price will be right for Mr. Barker.
You could go Bob Barker. You could go Travis Barker. Lots of Barkers you could go with there. Let's go defensive line. I don't know if we
If
mentioned
he
this.
is the kicker, the Price is Right puns are going to be out the wazoo from yours truly.
Yeah, I really hope. No offense to him, but I hope he doesn't get the job then, to be honest with you. I don't really want to hear this. Let's go defensive line. I don't know if we mentioned it last week. I don't know if it happened all the way back to last week or not, but defensive tackle Alonzo Ford Jr., who had transferred from Old Dominion, is out for the season. I don't know when that news dropped, but I wanted to make sure we covered that. Don't really know where he was going to play in that lineup of 6 guys or so, but does hurt the depth no matter what. He's not done though, so he has some. He'll be able to come back next year. From practice, we heard good things about Amin Vanover, Zariah Fisher again, and then shocker, Jordan Vandenberg. His name just keeps on popping up as a guy to pay attention to. You know, you talk about that defensive tackle spot, and you have Beeman and you have Izzard. Then you might have Devon Ellies and Vandenberg. I just think Vandenberg is going to continue to fight to get himself. I don't know if he'll break the starting lineup, but right now I feel like he might be the third guy.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Just based on what we've heard, like I think Zane Durant is also competing for that spot, but I hear more about Jordan Vandenberg right now.
Yeah.
And I think they're both going to play a ton. I mean, we don't just stick with 2 or 3 defensive tackles throughout a game. We play a lot of guys. So, I didn't hear a lot about Izzard, but yeah, Vandenberg's name came up, and Franklin. I know, getting away from defensive tackles, Franklin said Smith Philbert's injury happened in the spring, so if he could come back next year, he does have a 6-year of eligibility if he wants it. And sounds like Franklin is pretty open to potentially having him back. He should, if it happened like early in the off season, there's a pretty good chance he could be ready to go by the beginning of next season.
That's I actually didn't catch that, so I appreciate that.
I'm here for me.
I actually kind of forgot about Zane Durant, which is just, there's so many defensive tackles. It's almost kind of hysterical when you look back and you're like, people were complaining about the depth or unsure. I know there's some unproven depth there, but you could argue we have more depth this year than last year. So it's just kind of an interesting spot to be where we're at, Shawn, with the defensive tackles.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention Devon Ellies.
Yeah.
And, it would have been nice to have Alonzo Ford. We didn't, Franklin doesn't just take guys willy-nilly from the portal. He typically takes a guy to fill a need, and they're very careful with who they offer and the positions they offer. So it's a bummer that we lost him, but like you said, he'll be back at least next year.
Yep. Defensive end, we've discussed them quite a bit last week too. They're still very good. I don't know if we have to go too far down that rabbit hole on what those guys. Be kind of interesting from behind, like the younger guys, where the younger guys are going to be, like the Jameel Lyons, the Mapoyes, the Robinsons. Where are they going to be? Obviously, they can play in 4 games. How much do they develop? And throughout this year, we'll kind of learn where maybe those guys stack up. But we've got plenty of time for that. Linebackers, I think we have to start with Kobe King, right? I mean, Kobe King is making some money moves. We thought maybe he was a little bit more athletic than Tyler Elsdon. Then he had the spring when Tyler Elsdon was banged up, and I feel like he's taken advantage of it. I don't know if we would say he's going to start over him yet, but I think both of these guys are going to continue to play a lot, and I think you feel better about those two. And in Kobe King's scenario, I think he knows where he needs to be sometimes. I feel like sometimes he might have been out of position. There's no issue about what to do once he gets there. But it's just making sure he's where he needs to be. And if he cleans that up, I mean, I think he's going to be fantastic at the mic.
Yeah, you're definitely hearing a lot of positive things about Kobe King going into this season. And as somebody who's worried about the Mike linebacker spot a bit, I feel better than I did at the beginning of August, just because Kobe King's name keeps coming up as a guy who's improved. And like you said, he he knows more about where to go. And that's the key. That's the key at being the mic, is being able to read your keys and just knowing where to be and where to line up, and good gap discipline. And that's something that I think King and Elston, and even to a certain extent, some of the other guys like Carter, they struggled with at times last season. Carter because he was a freshman, and then Elston and King because they were also inexperienced. So a lot of that comes with time and just reps. And I think things are starting to really click for Kobe King based on what we've heard.
Yeah. Dom DeLuca. I know you'll like this one, Shawn. The takeaway king so far in camp. Not a defensive back, not a safety. Dom DeLuca, just a ball magnet is what I believe I don't know if it was Terry Smith called him that, but Dom DeLuca's a guy potentially that could wear that number 0 that Jonathan Sutherland wore, a special team guy, but has played a lot of football, can play the Sam, can play the Will, had a forced fumble against Rutgers. Just is going to be in the right spot. Maybe isn't the most athletically talented compared to a 5-star or a 4-star guy, but he's going to make sure he's in the right spot, which I think is pretty important. So nice to see him. Go ahead. Saucy, yes, and go get his sauce. Buy his sauce. We'll have to wait and see kind of where they end up. I think he's now playing in the Sam spot, but those Sam and Wills have been bouncing around quite a bit, so we'll have to kind of see where everyone kind of ends up. Go ahead. Yeah,
I mean, the crazy thing about DeLuca is I don't think I've ever heard like a bad report about him, or been like, DeLuca, he really sucked today. It's just nothing but positives about him. And I think when you have that chip on your shoulder, like I'm sure high school football player, and in his mind he probably thinks I should have already had a scholarship, and I think that could keep you motivated. And he's proven he could play at this level. Like if it's late in a game and we have Dom DeLuca in the game, I trust him, and I think that's high praise, because I'm not always the most trusting late in games. Part of it is I don't trust myself not to expire, but also I just get so nervous. But if I see him in there, I'm not going to be like, oh boy, and like saying a prayer because Luke is in the game. Like he's got it, and I'll feel good about him.
Yeah, I was just going to mention the freshman linebackers, Keys, Rojas, Robinson continue to impress. We mentioned that last week. I did hear good things about Keon Wiley. That was a name we weren't sure of. So that was nice to hear some good stuff about Keon Wiley, because linebacker was banged up right at the beginning of the season last year. Showed some flashes late, especially in the Rose Bowl. He had a sack. So it was nice to see him kind of get talked about a little bit as far as where he is in the depth chart. Who knows? But still at that Mike spot. So you've got some depth now at that Mike linebacker spot with Elsden, King, Wiley, and Robinson. And I'm not saying you necessarily feel amazing about Robinson and Wiley yet, but at least you got some names that there, and you have 4 names there, because you weren't really sure if you had 4 names this time last year.
Yeah, I don't think we did. I don't know. We barely felt good about the top 2 guys who were playing all the time, and I certainly didn't feel good about anything behind them. But nothing but positives about the freshmen. We expect Tony Rojas to burn his red shirt. I don't know about the other 2, but certainly I expect to see a good amount of Tony Rojas, and I think he might play every game this year.
Yeah, we've mentioned the Tony Rojas hype train quite a bit. Let's go defensive backs. I think we have our first 4 corners pretty much set. Kalen King, Johnny Dixon, Daquan Hardy and Cam Miller are your 4 starters there that we feel pretty set about. Johnny Dixon probably not being discussed enough. I really think Johnny Dixon, it's going to be hard to argue this in the grand scheme of things, but you could make the argument that this corner tandem in King and Dixon could be better than JPJ and King. I mean, JPJ didn't play a lot last year, but I'm just saying, like, that's how much they're getting talked about right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make an argument last season that Johnny Dixon was the most improved guy in the team. And I think he's going to be ready to step up in that spot, go from being an average player to being a good contributor to being a starter. And those are all steps. And how good of a starter are you going to be? And I think he has potential to be a good to really good one. And I remind people that he makes an impact all over the field. Like, he could play. Now, I think they're gonna be biased toward the safeties with this. He could play that prowler package. Like, he with corners, you either have the ability to blitz and make noise in the backfield, or you don't. And he does. And not every cornerback could do that. Like, he has a knack for being able to find the quarterback, disrupt those bubble screens. Kalen Kane can do the same thing. So I think these are going to be more aggressive corners than the tandem of Kalen King and Joey Porter. Kalen is aggressive, but I think Johnny Dixon plays a little bit more aggressive on the ball than Joey Porter Jr. does. What?
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, I mean, I'll rephrase. Joey Porter Jr. had 1 interception in his whole career. Like, I think he was more of
I would
big
say
body. He's gonna break up passes, no question about that. But I think he could do more.
I would say Dixon's ball skills are better.
Yeah, but he just makes noise constantly.
Yeah. No, I agree with the ball. Like, I agree. I think he has better ball skills, but I think JPJ was pretty fit. It's probably too physical at times. And I think Dixon at times can be too physical too. And we'll have to pay attention to him and Hardy on how they handle the pass interferences. Safety's interesting because you've got just a mound of talent there all over the place. We've talked extensively about Keaton Ellis. We've talked a lot about Jalen Reed. We've talked a lot about Zakee Wheatley. But then you got Kevin Vincent Jr., you got Elliott Robinson and King Mack, who probably could play a little bit in the dime nickel spot as well as the safety spot. And you got Dakari Nelson back there too. So there's so much just uber talent and different kinds of talent. Dakari Nelson a little bit bigger, King Mack a little bit smaller. Just so much going on there, Shawn. It's hard to really figure out where people stand. You know you're going to get a lot of those, first 3 guys, but you and I are high on Kevin Winston Jr., but we've heard a lot of things about all these guys so far, and that they are tackling well in space and that they're coming up and making plays so far in practice.
Yeah, there's an insane abundance of talent at that safety spot. Now, a lot of it admittedly is unproven, or they haven't been asked to be the guy, but they're going to be able to do it. Like, I have insane amount of confidence in the safety room. And, Keaton Ellis, I think Franklin wants to see him use those ball skills that he knows he has and be able to have more takeaways this season. And I'm expecting it, and we really need it. This is a defense. Manny Diaz's defenses rely heavily on being able to take the ball away. And last year, I mean, that's what Jair Brown does. So Keaton Ellis, we know Zakee Wheatley was turnover king last year in camp. Could he step up? Jalen Reed, and then we're not even talking of and KJ Winston, and we're not even getting into the younger guys like Makai Flowers, and like a Dakari Nelson, and a name that you keep hearing over and over again. And he's another guy that I think they might not be able to redshirt him is King Mack. Like, he's a guy whose name constantly is coming up. Just his athleticism, his speed, and just being able to make plays all over the field. So I don't think he's going to have necessarily a huge role in this defense, but I think he might be too good to keep off the field. And I think you could see him a lot on special teams, especially.
Yeah, no, I agree. You ready to do a trivia grid?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Shawn, you should be able to see it on your screen. So you know. Like the main, like this. There you go. You'll see it in a second. You see it?
I see it.
Okay. Here is our screen. Again, let me just stop here and say, if you're listening on a podcast, you can see this on social media. You can see it on YouTube. We will edit this part out, and we will see you after this grid is over, because it's hard to explain what's happening on the grid. But this is one reason to watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, tune into YouTube.
Okay. You know what? I did forget. I'm gonna need a second, Shawn, to get us our X's and our O's, because I forgot. So, just why don't you go ahead and read off the screen and that's what we got going on.
So I'm assuming Miguel did this.
Yes. Yep.
So shout out Michael Higgins. He's doing another grid for us. So what we have here looks like going down the column, 10+ win season, AFC, and Pennsylvania. So those are going to be all former Penn State or current Penn State, it would be former Penn State players who have had 10+ win seasons, AFC players and Pennsylvania players, and touchdown, and then those who have had touchdowns against Ohio State, those with 10 single season, those top 10 single season tacklers. I assume that means on the team. And those who have had a rushing / receiving touchdown in a season.
Okay,
So
you got most of that
works,
right. The top 10 single season tackler is like in the record books of Penn State.
Oh, excuse me. There you go.
I think. If Higgins is on, he can double check, but I'm assuming that.
Yeah, if he's here, he will tell us, because this is his baby.
Okay, so everyone knows. I will be X's and Shawn will be O's. Next time we'll try to get like pictures of us. I just ran out of time today. So Cory is X's, Shawn is O's. Shawn, you went first last time, didn't you?
I did, so you can go first, bud.
Oh, I appreciate it. Okay, let's just, either way, this is gonna. Oh yeah, it is all time. Higgins did let us know it is all time. I'm just gonna take the middle, and a reminder: we can take each other's spots, which I should have done last episode, but I didn't. Top 10 single season tackler of all time. In the AFC, I'm gonna go with Paul Posluszny, who played for the Bills.
I like that one. All right, I'm gonna go 10+ win season. Touchdown versus Ohio State. Trace McSorley.
Alrighty, simple enough. Let me get. Should we try to throw our cams on here? I'm gonna show. No, I won't be able to do that. I'm stupid. Sorry, everybody.
Oh, you're good, man.
Okay, never mind. All right, let me get rushing, receiving touchdown in a single season. Let me get Larry Johnson.
All right. For the okay. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did he have? I didn't even think about the 10-win season part. I'm sorry, I didn't totally miss that.
No, I don't think.
Okay,
No,
let
I
me go
don't think he
Let me
did.
go Saquon Barkley. I wasn't paying attention to the left column at all.
All right. All right. So I'm gonna go Pennsylvania
Okay.
touchdown versus Ohio State. Um. I mean, I don't think this should be that hard. Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. Pretty simple there. I'm gonna take your spot here. 10+ win season and a touchdown versus Ohio State. I'm gonna go Grant Haley.
Okay. Taking my spot. All right. Rushing / receiving touchdown in a season from Pennsylvania.
Hmm. What about you don't want to take the 10+ win season so I don't win?
Well, I think you'd win. Oh, you'd win either way.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So now, well, you could take the middle spot.
That's true, but you'd still win up top.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. Let me see
Whatever
if
the
there's
hardest
any
one
way I could-
is. Well,
Wait,
I have to get one
yeah,
right.
I could. All right, I'm gonna take my spot back. 10+ win season. Touchdown versus Ohio State. Grant Haley.
Didn't I just
Oh,
say?
you already
Didn't I
said
just say
Grant
that
Haley.
one?
Yeah, you did. Damn it. Pat Devlin.
That was a random one to choose.
Go ahead, touchdown. No, wait.
Okay, let me go. Touchdown versus Ohio State in the AFC. Ooh, okay. Touchdown versus Ohio State in the AFC. Trying to go back and think here. I feel like Penn State scored. Shawn doesn't think that, or Higgins doesn't think that the LJ one's right. Oh, wait, did I put the LJ one in the wrong spot again? Oh no, oh yeah, because I said Saquon. I don't think he heard that. Yeah, I said Saquon there.
Yeah, you went back.
Yeah, because I wasn't paying attention to the left column at all. Okay, AFC touchdown versus Ohio State. There's got to be a bunch out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I got one. Kerry Collins.
Yeah. Yeah, touchdown passes count, right?
Yeah, any sort of touchdown, I assume.
Yeah, I would assume. All right. Rushing / receiving touchdown in a season. AFC.
Oh,
Yeah, give me a second. Larry Johnson.
I know. That's what I was like. I was waiting for you to go, Larry Johnson.
Yeah. By the way, for those listening, this is like harder when you do it live. and you have to think on the spot.
Rushing, receiving touchdown in a season. He's not sure if that is right for middle right. Didn't he have a long catch and run against like Michigan State or somebody?
I just kind of assumed he had a receiving touchdown.
I'm pretty sure he caught a receiving touchdown
He
against.
scored like 114 touchdowns that season.
He scored. He definitely caught like a screen pass from somebody. I
Yeah.
thought, and took it to the house against somebody crappy. I thought.
Yeah. I thought so too.
The thing is, I don't really remember where all the top 10 tacklers were for that would be from Pennsylvania. Like, I don't really remember where the linebackers are from that well. Like, they could have been from Maryland or New Jersey or who knows, and I wouldn't necessarily feel fantastic about it. To be honest with you. So that scares me a little bit there. I'll go rushing, receiving touchdown in a season from Pennsylvania, Nick Singleton.
All right. I'll go Pennsylvania, top 10 single season tackler. Dan Connor.
Do you know where he's from? What high school he was from?
I think he's from out in Western PA. Let me make sure though.
But he is in PA, just so you know.
Yes, and he was, I believe he still is the single season or the all-time tackle leader at Penn State. He was from Wallingford, PA.
Okay, nice. Top 10 single season
Delaware
tackler.
County. He's from Delco.
Top 10 single season tackler that won 10 plus games. Shawn Lee.
That sounds right. I think you could actually say Paul Posluszny for that whole top 10 single season column.
Yeah. Just rack them all in.
I think you could. That guy, the GOAT.
I think he's from Pennsylvania too, just so you know.
I believe he was a Alquip Equip.
Yeah. All right, Shawn. I kind of got you surrounded a little bit.
You do. Is there any way I could break this?
Maybe there should be a rule that you can't use the same player twice.
Yeah, I think maybe next time that's what we could do.
Because, like, you could probably say Saquon Barkley for a lot of people.
Yeah, like that whole column could have just been Paul Posluszny. All right, I'm going to try to steal. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I'm going to go top 10 single season tackler. 10 plus win season.
We'll have to get our cams back on for this next time to figure it out.
Yeah, we can figure that out. 10 plus win season. Micah Parsons.
Was he top 10? Do you think he was top 10?
I don't know. I'm kind of guessing.
Yeah, I think that's a put. I mean, I can look here. 10 plus. I don't think. Well, there's actually. I can tell you because we have the list here. I had him leave them all in white, so I wouldn't be able to see what they were.
Mm-hmm.
Which was
nice.
nice.
I'm not positive about that one.
Now I just got to figure out how to make it. There we go. No.
Oh.
If you're curious, because I'm gonna win a different way. Paul Posluszny, Mike Hall, Greg Buttle, Shawn Lee, Dan Connor, Marcus Allen and Josh Hall, all 10-win season. Mark,
Allen.
I knew Marcus Allen was close. I didn't know if he was. I knew he was like 11th or something. I wasn't sure if he got in the top 10 or not.
Yeah, I remember he had a streak there where he was just getting like 14 tackles a game. So
Okay, this might be a little bit of a risk, but why not? Because it's fun. Rushing, receiving touchdown in a season and plays in the AFC. Can I get Allen Robinson? Didn't
I
he?
think he got a rushing touchdown.
Didn't he have a reverse for a touchdown?
I think he did. Yeah. I think you're right. Let me see. Oh, you have the list, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you got it.
Yeah, he has Allen Robinson on here. Derek Moy's on here too, which I wouldn't have expected.
I do not remember him scoring a rushing touchdown.
Bobby Ingram would have been an easy answer.
Yeah.
Um,
KJ.
oh, Parker Washington had one too. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong list here. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong list. Okay, this list is a little bit shorter. Derek Moy's not on that. Sorry, everybody. He doesn't have Allen Robinson on here.
Oh.
But I'm pretty. Maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he didn't think about it. But there's probably a bunch. He has Larry Johnson, Curtis Enos, O.J. McDuffie, Mike Archie, John Capoletti, K.J. Hamler, Blair Thomas, Lydell Mitchell. I feel like Robinson had one against Ohio State, didn't he?
Was it against Ohio State? I know he had that game.
Oh,
that
maybe it
we
wasn't
got-
against.
that we got. I mean, we got crucified out there. He had a long touchdown, but I'm pretty sure it was on a pass.
Yeah, it was on a pass. That one was on a pass. But now I don't feel as confident.
Yeah, maybe he didn't. I could have sworn he scored one, but maybe it's a Mandela effect.
It was a screen pass. Okay, so it's still your turn, Shawn.
All right, I'm not dead yet. Even though I'm pretty close to being dead.
I got too
I'm
cute there.
go. I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. I'll go AFC.
Okay.
I can't say that because I just got given the answer. Okay, AFC touchdown versus Ohio State. Zaid Blacknell.
Yeah, that works for sure. Shawn just beat me again.
Oh, I did. I didn't even realize that.
My Allen Robinson pick screwed me.
Dang,
Congratulations,
how
Shawn.
about that? Thanks, man. That was a hard-earned one. That was a down 3-1 in the finals.
Oh, we didn't record that on that. That's it. Okay. Let's see if we are good to hop back over. We are. Alrighty. Let's finish with some fan questions. I wasn't able to get... I was thinking Deshaun Hamilton for that last one, by the way. Broncos.
For AFC touchdown receiving and rushing receiving in a year.
No. For Deshaun, touchdown versus Ohio State.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
that would have worked.
So I don't have the fan questions popping up on the screen yet. I haven't figured out how we want to do that moving forward yet. Do have some fan questions we want to discuss though. And the first question here is from Steve Silver. Penn State has won at least... Oh my goodness, I already butchered it. Let me start over. Penn State has won at Ohio State once in my lifetime. We don't count whatever 2011 was. while wins at home versus Michigan have been somewhat more common. That said, Michigan has been better than Ohio State these last 2 years. Which is more likely, a win at home versus Michigan or away at Ohio State? I know we had kind of a question like this last week, but which one is more likely? Might be a little bit different than the same question, kind of. So I would say opposite. I know what his train of thought is, right? Because we don't really win at Ohio State very often. But I think I'm going to say Ohio State's more likely to win. I really do. It's the opposite of what you would normally think, but I really do believe that.
Think of it this way. Because I agree with you. Think of it this way. How many games did we go into Columbus where we were the better team? Not that many, right? I mean, you can make an argument 17, but really the depth wasn't where it needed to be. I mean, Ryan Buchholz and Ryan Bates got hurt, and it was like a Chernobyl meltdown at both spots. And that just doesn't happen this year. If God forbid we lose two important guys on the team, it'll just be next man up. And it won't be like next man up where you're like chewing your nails down to the nub. I think we'd be able to roll with the punches a little bit better. So that, knowing that, in 2011 we were just better than Ohio State was. Ohio State just wasn't very good that year. And then in 2008, yeah, we had a better team. It was no mistake that we went into Columbus and beat them. Outside of that, though, in my lifetime, there wasn't a time where we went into Columbus and beat Ohio State because we weren't as good as Ohio State. And we certainly weren't better than Ohio State. So that's why I would say this year it's more likely that we beat Ohio State than Michigan.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's go to our next question. Shawn, this will kind of be of a spitfire one. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the Big Ten this season? Rank them. And this is from Chris Powell, who says his favorite non-alcoholic drink is Diet Coke, and his favorite alcoholic drink is tequila.
That's all he needs is tequila. So Chris Powell, one of my oldest friends. The number 1 quarterback in the Big Ten is Drew Aller. The number is Bo Prabula. The number 3, no. So I think you got to go McCarthy. He's up top. It's hard for me to rank these guys in order, but I guess I would go McCarthy. I would probably go with Talia Tagovailoa 2. Maybe Cade McNamara 3, but even that's a stretch and a half. Maybe Aller 4. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like anointing Drew Aller before he's done anything. I just don't. And then the number 5 quarterback in the Big Ten. I guess I go Tanner Mordecai. But spoiler alert, I don't think this is a very good slate of quarterbacks in the Big Ten this season.
Yeah, you compare these quarterbacks to like the Pac-12, and it's like, wow, it's rough. I mean, they've got some really good. You think about the Pac-12, they've got.
Have Cade McNamara in the top 3.
No, I mean Pac-12, you got DJ Uiagalelei, you got Bo Nix, you got Michael Penix Jr., you've got Dante Moore from UCLA. You got
Rising.
Cam Rising, obviously. Thank you.
And Deion's son. I don't know how he's going to translate.
And I didn't even mention Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
They got a bunch, and the Big Ten doesn't. I would go, if I had to, I'd go 1, McCarthy, 2, Tagovailoa, but 3 I go Mordecai, 4 I go Aller, 5 I would go McCord. I don't care. I just think McCord's better than anyone else that you could throw out there. I think Cade McNamara is poop.
Into the playoffs.
Okay. That that doesn't mean anything.
It means he could win football games.
He didn't win any of those games for them. None of them. 0.
At Penn State.
Because somebody ran into somebody, not because of McNamara.
He had 3 touchdowns.
Don't get me started, Shawn. He's a Rex Grossman of college football.
I'm not saying he's anything special. This is a very down year for quarterbacks in the Big Ten going into it.
I'm not taking the 3.
We might be saying it's all right.
Yeah, I haven't even mentioned.
Totally different opinion though.
You haven't even mentioned who his offensive coordinator is.
This is true. Fair point.
All right, let's get to Shawn's question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about the kickers, punters? As everyone who watches the weekly YouTube show knows, my favorite thing to drink is Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper. Yes, we know you love your Diet Dr. Pepper. Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the quarterbacks? Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the Lord, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Scale 1 to 10, how would you rate special teams? I would rate, if we're going to separate kickers and punters, I would give the kickers a solid 6, and I would give the punters a solid 5, honestly, right now. That's where I'm at.
Oh, so you'd have kickers ahead of punters.
A smidgen. But if 6 to 5 makes you feel that much better, I guess, yeah. And honestly, that 5, I mean, those are volatile numbers, right? Like that 5 and 6 can become a 7 or a 9 very quickly. We just don't know any better, but we have heard things of inconsistency out of camp. So that terrifies me. Especially the punting, right? Like, let's take a game where maybe it's raining and Drew Aller can't throw the ball very well and the run game is just a little slow and we're not moving the ball and we can't punt the ball either. Like, and to get us out of a jam, like that's when you start to be concerned about losing to somebody you shouldn't. So, yeah, I would say I'm concerned.
Yeah, I share your concern, and maybe they surprised us. I didn't feel very good about Barney going into this year, but one of the things that made me feel better about Barney is by summer it was pretty much established he had the job, and that he was going to beat out Paqueta. And that really hasn't happened yet this year. So that kind of worries me.
Yeah. I would hope punting we feel better about soon, but I'm just not sure. This is actually a fun question from Dorito Bandit. What currently unranked Big Ten team has the best chance of finishing the year ranked? His favorite drink is Dr. Pepper. Just so everybody knows, you got Penn State, you got Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Iowa as your ranked teams. So got to be somebody that's not one of those. Which team, not currently ranked in the Big Ten, do you like the most? Do you think could be ranked by the end of the year, Shawn?
You would probably clown me for saying this.
I was hoping you would.
Saying this team in particular, because you might know what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking it's either one of 2 teams now.
It might be the Maryland Terrapins. Just process of elimination, because the Big Ten West, I think it's gonna take a few years for Matt Rule to get Nebraska off the mat. Purdue is gonna be in a rebuild. Northwestern, we all know their issues. Rutgers, we'll see. Indiana's not going to be any good. And Sparty's kind of a mess right now. So Maryland, I would probably go with Maryland. I mean, they do have one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. I know it's not we just went over how, the quarterbacks aren't anything to write home about in the conference, but nonetheless he is. He could win you a game here or there by himself. And they have a good coaching staff. So I'll go Maryland.
Yeah. I was thinking Maryland too. But to keep it fun, I think Nebraska. Somebody to pay attention to. They don't have to do very much to get ranked. They just have to take care of business over there. If they beat a ranked Iowa and a ranked Wisconsin, and one of those, that will get them pretty close. They have Michigan. I don't think they have Ohio State this year. Obviously, they don't have Penn State. So, I don't know if that necessarily happens. But, yeah, I like your Maryland pick, too. Final question, Shawn. From Einstein von Braun, Mister, would like to know how the three-way tie works in the Big Ten East. And would the Big Ten get two teams in the playoff with that scenario? Who gets left out? Favorite alcoholic drink is bourbon, non-alcoholic, a Coke with a lemon. So, first of all, just so everybody knows how it works, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State are all tied at 11-1. You go down the tiebreakers all the way to the point where you take the conference division games, and whoever has the best combined conference division record, opponent's record, would get the nod. And Joel Klatt just did this on his show, and Ohio State has, by Vegas's odds, the best chance to win that. I think they're at like 20 games for their record. Wins, and I want to say, and then Michigan was at, if I remember correctly, was at 18.
Yep.
And Penn State was at 17.5. And that was off the top of my head, so I'll take that pretty good that I happen to remember that. So not looking great. Most of that's because Northwestern's expected to do nothing. So we'll have to wait and see there. If Northwestern magically does something that Northwestern would do and win a couple games, that drastically changes quickly because Penn State does have Iowa and potentially a solid team in Illinois too. So we'll have to kind of wait and see there. But that's how it works. I don't know how it would work as far as the playoff goes. Obviously, the team that gets to the Big Ten and gets a chance to win the Big Ten championship would probably be a lock. And then you'd have to think margin of victory would play a role. How did each team lose to each other? All that would really play into things. The good thing maybe for Penn State is their loss might happen earlier in the year. Someone has to lose the Ohio State Michigan game. That's how college football works. And so someone's last game is going to be a loss. And I think that bodes well for Penn State. I don't know if that makes a difference in the long run. Maybe if it's down to the quadruple overtime, and that really doesn't sit well, and that hurts Penn State's case. But if one team wins by 10 points, you think that would really make Penn State feel like they're in a pretty good position. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be a heck of a lot easier if we just go 12-0. And not have to worry about this. But yeah, in the event of a tiebreaker, I mean, going into the season, we don't know how things are going to turn out, obviously. It doesn't look like it'd be Penn State's best path to Indy. But like Cory said, it doesn't necessarily mean we're out of the playoff discussion. Last year, Ohio State didn't make the Big Ten title game. And if they don't shank a field goal, they're probably the national champs last year. And that's kind of how it works. Like, it's not necessarily the end of the world if we don't win the Big Ten. But it's all about what the voters decide. I mean, and then it's not just the Big Ten teams they're considering; it's the champion in the ACC and how many SEC teams are getting in. So there's so many things that we can't even imagine yet. Before we start getting into playoff scenarios. I mean, last year, I think we had a rule. I think Cory had to tell me a couple of times, don't talk about the playoffs because I'd want to talk about playoff scenarios in like early October. So it's certainly, in August, I don't think it's worth spinning our wheels over. But don't worry, we will when we're getting ready for bed and thinking about what if we're 11-1, but they're both 11-1.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. again, I just want to, for people on podcast, probably didn't affect them as much, but people watch on YouTube, just want to apologize again. I know we had some technical difficulties throughout the show today. We're obviously changing some things up, and things got a little complicated. Just gonna be a work in progress for a little bit. Been doing this kind of the same way for a year now, and so we're changing some things up. So just getting used to it. But very, very much appreciate you guys listening to the show from the get-go and continuing to listen throughout the last basically 2 years. And just again, I started podcasting in 2019 and just kind of BSing and doing different things. And Hardcore CFB was what we started in October, and then eventually switched over to Hardcore PSUFB. And here we are. So it's just crazy that we're at this point. It's awesome that Mercury and company took a chance on us. But it wouldn't be without you guys listening. And the questions that you bring in, the 5-star reviews, all that stuff played a role. So thank you very much. And also thank you to Shawn, because the show would not be the show without the co-host. So thank you, man.
Thank you, Cory. Thanks for obviously the opportunity to be able to do this. And just like where we've taken off, and I mean, Cory does so much for this show. So much. I mean, behind the scenes, you guys don't even have any idea. So just, he's the man. Trust me on it. And yeah, and I also second what he said about you guys, because without you, we're just two guys talking. And well, that's fun and all.
We could do that all day.
Yeah, I mean, and we definitely could. But that's really what we are then. But you guys are the to do this, and it's been a ton of fun, and we're just going to keep growing with this partnership with Mercury and with Cory and me and you guys. So let's keep going. And then also thanks again to Michael Higgins for the grid.
Yeah,
that's becoming a fun part of the show for us.
Yeah, still got to figure out some things there too, but for sure. So we'll be back next week. Is the season preview show? It's going to be extra long. We pretty much have all but confirmed that Adam Brenneman will be on the show for that as well. So that'll be fantastic. Little Easter egg for people that listen to the very end. So probably going to start that one at 7 Eastern instead of 8 Eastern, since it's probably going to be a little bit longer. Anyways, any final thoughts, Shawn, before we get out of here?
No, it was a good show tonight. Good, like Cory said, we're switching over to doing some new things, but overall, I think it went pretty smooth for our first time. Yeah, we'll get there. So, for Shawn, Kane, I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore PSUFB. Catch you next time, everybody. See ya.